Hello everyone, Mystery here, talking about a psyker build today. This one is for casters, so if you got tired of my melee shenaniganery, we are doing casting, and it is not Flame Staff before you click away. It's Void Blast, so it is very, very cool, and yeah, this staff is very impactful. Now, what I want to say about Psyker is that I've been enjoying it a lot lately. Psyker is one of those classes that has always had a huge potential, pretty much limitless power brimming just below the surface. But in order to access that power, you previously really needed a kind of high level of competency, of knowledge, of mechanical finesse with the class to access it. But thanks to the reworks, that has become way more easy to access than ever before, and I think a lot of the design of the class fundamentally just does not compute in the way that this game is designed. It just completely breaks the game, and that's something we're going to be doing today. So if that sounds appealing to you, you should probably subscribe so you catch more builds like this, and like the video and comment and let me know what should be up on deck for me. Thanks. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at our melee weapon here. Blaze Force Sword to start us off. The Blaze Force Sword is in this build just so we can be defensive. This is a full caster build, meaning we are going to be casting 100% of the time if we can afford it. This is going to allow us to get the heck out of the dodge if stuff starts shooting at us, or a boss picks on us and pushes us into a corner. Deflector with maximum warp resistance here is going to buy us a ton of time. The other talent we have on here, the other blessing rather, on here is Uncanny Strike. That's going to allow us to get a couple of quick headshots and then carry over that Uncanny Blessing in order to keep our flame stacks doing lots of damage to enemies. And we are spreading and proliferating a good amount of flame with this build thanks to some of our talents. Then from there, we are going on to our weapon of choice, which is the Void Blast, as I think I mentioned previously. We're going to slap Flak and Unarmored on here, and then you should note that damage should be maxed out, and it really doesn't matter what your warp resistance is. We're going to almost instantly hit maximum peril with this. I think honestly a higher warp resistance is better. It gives you a couple more casts before it goes off, but that's up to your decision making there. But Flak and Unarmored is just so we can clear hordes a little bit better. For blessings here, Blazing Spirit and Warp Nexus, very, very important. We're going to be getting tons of crits and therefore spreading tons of blaze on the enemies. Then coming down here to our Curios, we want triple toughness with triple combat ability regeneration, triple toughness, and triple revive speed to allies. Okay, let's go on to the talent tree and see what makes this build tick. Up here at the top, we are starting off with Soul Stealer and Metal. Soul Stealer, just toughness on every single kill, because our only kills are going to be from warp attacks, either Soul Blaze or the Blast, the Void Blast stuff. Metal over here is toughness over time, which is great. Plus, we also get movement speed, which is also great, doubly great. And then up to 15% damage from perfect timing. Over here, Perilous Combustion, more Soul Blaze spreading. Soul Blaze is very important. It's actually going to add up to a lot of damage over the course of the game, and this is one of the best nodes for doing that. Then we're going to grab Brain Rupture, come down this way. Soul Drinker, even more crit chance, which means more Soul Blaze, which means bigger damage numbers out there, and of course, more toughness regeneration, keeping us safe. Then Wildfire, which means more Soul Blaze, and this is awesome because most of the time what happens is we Void Blast. Some enemies die outright from the blast, and then their flame stacks can now jump to the enemies that are only almost mortally wounded from the blast and just finish them off. So it just kind of like cleans up some weaker enemies in the area, and this can actually stack up quite a bit and cause a bit of havoc amongst the enemy health bars. Then we're going to come down here and grab Seer's Presence and Psykinetics Aura. This node is broken, and I'll come back to it in a second and explain why it breaks this build and many builds like it. One with the Warp, and coming down this way to Scryer's Gaze. Okay, here, a little bit of a digression, whatever you want to call it, to explain how Scryer's Gaze functions and how it functions with this build. So, first of all, when you activate Scryer's Gaze, the first thing that's going to go on is you're going to dump 50% peril. So you really don't want to activate this ability unless you have over 50% peril, so that you're actually getting that effect. So you're removing some peril, because you want to spend as long as possible, really, casting in this first phase of the ability. Because in that first phase, you're getting 10% damage as well as 20% crit chance and some weak spot damage. But mainly it's that flat damage and the crit chance that we care about, right? That scales our damage quite nicely. Eventually, no matter how much you quell, you're going to cap out. You're going to reach that maximum potential of 100% peril. And that is when the first phase, that whole first paragraph of Scryer's Gaze ends and you lose all those blessings, like the damage and the crit chance. Then you enter into phase 2, where you only keep that second sentence, which is up to 30% damage for every second that you spend in Scryer's Gaze. So this lingers for 10 seconds after the ability ends, and that's going to come back in just a second when we see the last node in this tree. And that is also going to be augmented by precognition, which every second you spend in Scryer's Gaze is going to also give us 1% finesse damage. The reason we want this is because finesse damage is also crit damage. So whenever we're getting crits, which is about 57.5% of the time, we are going to be boosting that by up to 30%. So it does behoove you to vent and like keep your peril down, especially if there's nothing going on, so you can stack extra damage for your Scryer's Gaze in the ultimatum. But honestly, this build puts out enough damage, you really don't need to micromanage it that much. Then Warp Unbound is the real linchpin here, the thing that makes the build work. Warp Unbound gives you 10 seconds, that lingering effect afterwards, where you normally only have that Scryer's Gaze secondary blessing. Now, during that time, you cannot overload from any means. So that means you just get 10 or 11 seconds or so of free casting. And with the Void Blast Staff, that can be incredibly, incredibly impactful, as you might imagine. So we're just going to go nuts free casting. And then you have to, or you would have to watch your peril meter and your timer and make certain you're not going to cast once you're overloaded. But now, with the changes to the Psychonetic's aura, what's happening is when you have this active, or when you're in Warp Unbound, you've already capped out, the cooldown starts. So the cooldown starts at 25 seconds, but we have 10% here, and we have another 12% on our Curios. So we really only have about 20 seconds to go, and that 20 seconds gets cooled down every time you kill an elite or specialist enemy. And so by the end of your 10-second Warp Unbound overload prevention, you will actually have the cooldown up again. And so you can just cast this again, and you can rinse and repeat the cycle in the same way that Infinite Smite Psyker works, just with casting instead. Then we're going to go Kinetic Deflection, which is going to allow us to use the Deflector perk on our Blaze Force Sword to block pretty much anything, and just tank bosses, block plasma gunners, whatever it is. It's great for repositioning. Sometimes you're going to get caught out of position and there's a bunch of gunners that are going to catch you on the across an alley or something, and you just want to get past, throw up your deflector, run past. And this also allows you to pretty much guarantee a rescue. Just place your wall or yourself against a wall or something so that boss can't push you back, and just go ahead and pick the enemy up, because they can't break your block, because your block is being converted into peril. Then we're going to go Warp Rider and Vulnerable Minds just for a bunch of extra damage. Then Puppet Master, because we don't need Quell Speed. Quell Speed is for losers, and we aren't quelling. And Penetration is Rending on Warp attacks, which is amazing. And then finally, Warp Siphon, Warp Battery, Psychic Vampire, and Essence Harvest for extra toughness regeneration, as well as just more warp charges, which is going to further lower our cooldown. And remember, we really want to spend most of our time in that first phase of the cooldown. So whenever you get a new Scryer's Gaze up, just go ahead and pop it, because that first phase of the Scryer's Gaze is 20% additional crit chance and 10% damage, which is probably more than you're going to get out of the lingering effects from these other parts. So that's just my advice to you. Anyway, guys, that is the whole build. I hope you enjoy some gameplay of it and me blowing some stuff up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Get blasted, motherfucker! Pop! You're dead. Pop, you're dead. Is there a mod that can make the targeting medical for this, like, easier to see? Oh, God. How will this shit get right next to me, bro? Bro. Oh, nice. Well, awesome. I'm glad it helps, Beer Panda. Look, Beer Panda sees value in my contributions, guys, and so does Titan. Okay? These people are right-thinking individuals. They see the value that I provide to the community, which is, if nothing else, a clown. An example of what not to do with 6 hours every day. Uh-oh. Outside, we can. Always your values. Value. Keep on them. Fuck off. No, let me go. I'm trying to fucking cast, you bitch. I'm just like a trap in a dungeon. Just like a explosion that like you had to dodge through over and over. LOL. Free thinking. What is it? What comes to mind when you think about mystery build viewers? I'll let you say it, okay? I'll let you pick which words are gonna be inscribed in your tombstone. She. Good. Comrade, I'm gonna look at whatever build you were using earlier. I'm gonna copy it, I'm gonna make it into a build, and you're gonna be a sheep. I'm gonna sheepify you. I'm gonna polymorph your ass, dude. I'm gonna be like a WoW mage. Watch out, I'm blowing it. I think that was enough notice, like a millisecond notice. I think that was enough, right? Alright, well that was enough. Casual 300k damage.